live stream started, so
Right? Sure. Yeah.
just to give you the fair warning. Yep, directing. Oh wait, is that seriously how they did this? This is so much easier. I stream started. Okay, yeah. Apparently we're good to go. Let
Wonderful.
me. Um, sorry everyone. I just switched us to using Zoom to do these, so there's a little bit of learning process. But
Although
it
your
will be,
feed is much nicer, I think, than on Jitsi.
and because I paid for it, we won't have that time limit. I don't think. But let me get posted the links. Folks, this is an early show compared to usual in honor of our guest. While I get set up posting links everywhere, Gloria, why don't you introduce yourself and your company?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Brian, for having me. It's really a pleasure to be back here. It's about 1 year now since we last spoke, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Gloria Anderson. It says Gloria Vintila, but that's my Vintila is my middle name, my Romanian name. I'm originally from Romania, from Transylvania. I'm based in Stockholm and run the travel company Experience Transylvania. And I had the pleasure to travel with Kevin, to have Kevin as a guest during our Transylvania tour with Dacre Stoker and Victoria Price, daughter of Vincent Price. That was about 2 years ago now. And I had the pleasure to be a guest in Brian's and Kevin's talk. Yeah, about 1 year ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously everyone, if you haven't guessed from what Gloria said, this is the trip I went to Romania with. It is an absolutely phenomenal trip, and I want to help get the word out. Hopefully, get because I know I have listeners that want to go to Romania, and I think you guys are a really good choice to do so.
Thank
And
you.
that's why we're always happy to have you back on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it sounded like a great trip.
And
Now,
I'll be glad to contribute with whatever knowledge I have about Transylvania, about Vlad the Impaler. I studied history quite intensively during my education in Romania during my university years there. Then I moved to Stockholm to Sweden, and I had a continuation of that during my studies here. But yeah, it's been always the focus on Transylvanian history, and it's really cool that you guys are so interested and that you have friends and followers who are curious about my home country.
well, I mean, there are other reasons to go certainly, and I enjoyed the history and the beauty, but we are a paranormal themed talk show, of course. So, because of Stoker and because of folklore in general, Transylvania fits very well. I mean, you have Dracula himself, even though he was not, of course, not a vampire, and you have other folklore like the connections to the Pied Piper story.
Exactly. Yeah. Pretty cool connection because it's quite close to where I come from. And it is said that the children led by the Pied Piper to, when they left Hameln in nowadays Germany. Back then it was not really Germany, but yeah, Germanic territory. And it is said that they went into this grotto or cave or hole in the ground or whatever that was, and then they went into the underworld and came back to the surface on the other side, which was in Brasov, or actually in a cave close to the town of Brasov, or as it's called in German, Kronstadt. And that's where they founded this Germanic community. And this is, of course, a legend, but it's also a sort of an explanation, like all legends are, to what actually happened historically in Transylvania, because We've talked about this, Kevin and Brian, quite a few times, but we can repeat it just to sum up that there's not so many non-Romanians or even Romanians who know exactly what happened. And it's quite normal because this was, well, it was the late 1100s, early 1200s, when the German Saxons, as we call them, were invited by the King of Hungary. Transylvania was a part of the Kingdom of Hungary back then. And these Germanic speaking people were invited to Transylvania to actually secure or enhance the protection of the border of the Kingdom of Hungary towards Eastern, Eastern, whatever, Europe and the Middle East, and all the hordes and the people that were coming to attack and to plunder and to go further. The Ottomans as well, not only hordes, or also organized armies like the Ottomans were trying to plunder and attack. And this was a very strategically important place, Transylvania. It was like the belt, or the border between East and West. This is where the West needed most protection. So that's why they invited these Germanic people to organize. Germans, they are organized, so they should organize this area. So that's what happened historically. And what Pied Piper did was, well, the Pied Piper legend kind of explains in a way what happened in historical facts.
That's cool. I actually never heard the last part of the story. I had always heard the kids being led away, and then usually in the versions I've heard, that's just the end. It's like the kids disappeared, they were never seen again.
True.
But you actually have the continuation of the story, which is where they ended up.
The Transylvanian twist of it. And there is a Transylvanian count, an actual real life living count, whose name is Count Tibor Kalnoky. And he was actually the one who introduced us to this story, because where he has his let's say manor, or it's actually a Renaissance castle. Maybe may I share my screen just to share what it looks like?
I think so.
Yeah. Let's see.
I'm very new to the Zoom thing. If it works, I'm more than happy to let you do it.
It should work. I've seen shared screens before.
I see the share button, but let's try. Otherwise, anyone can just Google the name of the castle, and it's a quite nice one. Let me see if I find the good picture, because it's really cool to talk about a real, we talk about the count, the Transylvanian count everywhere. We don't even need to name the name, but there are real counts, especially from the Székely, or just like Dracula, he belonged to the Székely or Szekler community, the Hungarian speaking community in the east of Transylvania. And this count that I'm talking about is actually exactly that type of count. So you could never know if maybe he's related somehow to the fictional character Dracula. No, I cannot. Unfortunately, I cannot. I think you need to give me some kind of permission. I cannot share, but I can put a link in the chat that leads to that castle.
And I can put the link in the description at any rate.
Exactly.
I'm happy to give you permission. I just have no idea how to do that.
No worries. It's right here. So it's even better that everyone who is interested or curious about this castle and the count himself, he's a very welcoming, very guest-friendly gentleman, and he knows a lot about the region. And I just think it's cool to say, oh, I met a Transylvanian count from the Székely community, just like Dracula.
I would agree.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I mean, I have a large portion of my background is Hungarian.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not quite half, but it's like a good 40% or so.
Okay.
is Hungarian through my mother's side. So,
Wonderful. Okay. But your name is Scottish?
McKinley, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I have Irish, Scottish, so my dad's family is, mostly European, and my mother's family is Hungarian. So,
Mhm. Cool.
so yeah, I have a very Irish name, but I'm actually much more Hungarian than I am Irish.
Well, maybe you also somehow are related to the Seke community and to
Could
Dracula by
be. We're
It's
still
possible.
waiting to find out where exactly in Hungary we are from, but yeah, it's entirely possible. Be
Yeah,
great to be from Transylvania. That'd be hilarious.
yeah.
That would.
Well,
See, I,
trans
on the other hand, am a British Isles brat. Scottish, Irish. I think there might be some Welsh, some English,
Ooh,
and German.
German too. Okay.
Yes.
Well, the Saxons, that would make some sense.
Yeah.
I think, and I'd have to look it up, but I think my ancestors got together and married the Irish and German sides of the family after they came to the US. So I could be wrong.
Oh, hmm.
My mother would know. She's very big on genealogy.
All right. Then maybe you have a project together and try to dig.
What's the thing we were talking about, funny enough, with your tours? Because aside from Transylvania, you do Ireland. And
Yes.
mother is very interested in going into Ireland.
Really cool.
Yeah.
That hopefully now with Daker Stoker, we have plans to go back to Ireland. We had a tour last year, and now we are also looking into the upcoming period. But it's not nothing is yet planned concretely. We focus on this Transylvania tour for this summer, and then we will see how we develop during 2026. 2027 will be the 130th anniversary of the novel Dracula, so that will be a good occasion to take a good, nice tour with a good itinerary. I mean, all our itineraries are quite well, thoroughly thought and planned just to follow the red thread of the literary and historical path, but also, to have fun, to enjoy good food, and so on. So we'll think up something very good, and we'll
So
let you know.
I want to check something, particularly since we're having you on right now. Am I
Sure.
correct in saying that you still have seats open for this year's trip?
Yes, that's true. That's correct. We have a deadline on Saturday. That's 15th of February.
Yeah, that'll
So
be Saturday.
till then, we have actually, as it looks now, it's because we always calculate the number, the minimum, maximum number according to what we have for vehicles available. We try to always have comfortable, and we succeed, of course, also, because otherwise we wouldn't travel around, comfortable vehicles, and we then adjust to that. So we have about 2 spots that we can fill until the 15th of February.
And I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, if I had the money, I'd go back in a heartbeat. It's like you were a really wonderful tour. I was very pleased.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really fun to have you and all the others. It was such a great group that um, merged very well together. And yeah, it was thank you for your feedback. It was really fun to travel with you as well.
And I'll anyone who's still interested or wants to look at 2026 or 2027, I will have a link in the description so you can go to Experience Transylvania's website and check that out for yourselves.
Yeah, and I'm glad to say that we've finally updated our website. So I can put the link here so you have it's actually the same as it used to be, but um, this is there will be a Swedish version of it because we are based in Sweden, but it's basically, yeah, you have the English version as well, so you can read in English as well, of course.
Yep. And like I said, I'll have the links in the description. So there we go. And just want to put a quick note that the other link is the link to the Count's Castle.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, nice. I'm looking at the castle that you linked to earlier.
Mhm.
It is rather nice.
Yeah, it's very cozy and with a lot of history. Actually, looking at that and thinking of what it looked like right after the fall of communism, it was a ruin. So the Count managed very well with some financing from different EU, I think, entities. But anyway, with a lot of work and efforts put in by his family, they managed to restore it and really take care of it in a genuine and very good way. So yeah,
That's
it's
great.
worth a visit. It's a bit out, not out of the way, but it's a bit it's not on the beaten track, so to speak, but it's not very far from Sighisoara and Brasov. And once again, this is very close to the Pied Piper cave, so it's that connection that would be very interesting to analyze while visiting.
That's the thing. There's so much. I mean, aside from the fact I'd love to come back and do the tour, there's so much folklore that I like to get into, and not just. I mean, yeah, I'll be the first to admit, part of me wants to go looking for vampires, but there's the cave associated with the one type of fairy where they actually found like Greek artifacts in this one cave.
Oh, I'm not sure which one you refer. I'm sure there is one, but um, could it be? Did we talk about it during our tour?
I talked with it. I talk about the fairies in particular with Nora
Oh, right.
because
So then
naked
yeah.
women that
Oh,
drive you that steal your soul if you see them.
right, right. So okay, that's a general one. Sure. Well, there is. I'm not sure if there's a particular cave saying that, but there are these fairies who are dancing in a ring dance, especially around midsummer. And these are the evil fairies, but they are very fair, like very nice, beautiful ladies. But you should not uh, be caught watching them, or you should not uh, behold them while they are dancing, because then you will be cursed. Or yeah, sorry guys, I'm not the expert on the fairy and this
That's
Wiccan.
perfectly fair. You don't have to be
Nora.
the expert.
It's Nora, my sister, who was the local guide for the tour, and she usually is the local guide. And sometimes I'm joining on specific topics where I have expertise, but she's the one who knows all these Transylvanian superstitions, all kinds of legends and folklore. So she's the one who's the expert. But unfortunately, she wasn't able to join today.
That's okay. And as I said to you before, and I've said many times, you and Nora are always welcome here.
Thank you.
You were both so delightful on the tour. I tell everybody, it's like, no, they're great. Go, it's absolutely worth it. But yeah, it's interesting. There's more I could get into with Nora on it, but there is a commonality of folklore that you hear similar stories about fairies in Ireland, in Finland, and all over Europe.
Scotland as well.
Yeah. Oh
You know,
yes.
um, maybe you guys didn't watch this series Outlander, but maybe there's a lot of um, people who did. But anyway, there was a moment in the beginning of this series where um, two, like the protagonists or the main characters of the series, were watching the fairies, or the ritual, the dance. So it was quite similar, and they got in a way doomed, or cursed, or went back in time, or I don't remember much of how it happened, but I just found that similarity when I saw this. I think it was the first or second episode, and that's exactly what you shouldn't do in the Romanian or Transylvanian superstition. You shouldn't watch the fairies, or Yelele, as they are called. Yele is the name of the fairies.
Thank you. I could not remember that.
Yeah.
But and that's a thing worth pointing out because like we're talking about the Pied Piper legend. talking about the LA and about similar creatures, you can go, it's like, wait, I don't remember how this story ends. Often the reason is there's multiple endings depending on who you ask. Like
Hmm.
the Transylvanian version of the Pied Piper is usually he brings the kids to Transylvania. In German versions of the story, he drowns the kids in the river, he walls them up in a cave. It depends on who you ask.
Yeah, exactly. These are many versions of one story that, yeah, are translated into the local folklore and imagination of each place.
Exactly. And it ties into history. Like you said, it ties into history. Were the kid, did he actually charm rats and cause them to drown? Probably not. Is there some truth to Saxon Germans settling in Transylvania? Yes, yes, there is. And is it is it may be an explanation? It may be partly based on something that did happen.
Mm.
I've heard it suggested that there were opportunists that were kidnapping children from Germany to bring into Hungary, into Transylvania, and the Pied Piper might actually have been one of those.
Makes some sense, yeah.
Mm.
But so of the place, this is probably a little like asking your favorite kid, but I'm curious of the places that your Transylvania tour goes. Do you have a particular favorite?
Yes, I can answer quite quickly on that. And this will bring me some criticism probably from some Dracula fans, but there is a very dear to my heart place that's Bran Castle, and here you will hear a lot of, oh, but that's not Dracula's castle, Vlad never was there, and so on. And I'm going to tell you why I like this place so much. The castle itself, yes, it all depends on when you go there and how you are prepared to go there. um, the castle itself, the connection to the novel Dracula is very well explained by Dacre Stoker, the great grandnephew of Bram Stoker himself. So I'm not going to go a lot into that, but just the big picture is that the castle is related to Dracula in that way that Bram Stoker most probably got inspired by the sketches that he found in the books that he studied at the London Library, and this castle was on this in these books, and it was the only Transylvanian castle in the books that he studied. So the exterior probably was most inspired by him. But then there's another thing. Why isn't it Dracula's castle? Well, it's because many say that, well, Vlad the Impaler didn't have anything to do with this castle, and well, yes, it's historically most probably true that he wasn't there, or maybe if he was there, he never lived there. But still, the the looks of the castle, the feel of the castle, it really brings you to another dimension. And Kevin, I don't know, you did some paranormal activity study there, right?
I didn't actually don't think I did anything at. I might have tried, but I don't think I did anything at Brand Castle.
Mm.
Although I will say this, it is a gorgeous castle. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed visiting it. And I mean that it's up on the mountain. It's got that foreboding. Is it the castle Vlad the Impaler lived from? No. Is it a really cool castle that looks like what you think Dracula's castle should look like? Oh yes.
Yes, exactly. And it's the only one we actually have that is a castle with the little towers and pointed um, turrets. And yeah, we have, of course, Poenari fortress, the fortress ruin. It's actually under restoration right now, and hopefully by summer it will open. We don't know yet. It hasn't really been confirmed, but that's not a castle either. I mean, it's a fortress. It was used by Vlad the Impaler. It was not built by him. It was rebuilt or re-enhanced by him. But yeah, it's not the same. I mean, it's yeah. let's see what it looks like after they restored it. But for now, it's Bran Castle that is Dracula's castle in our eyes.
And for that matter, for anyone who's seen it, Bran Castle shows up at the end of Beetlejuice.
Sorry, at the end of what?
So the second Beetlejuice movie that came out, Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Right.
You see them coming out of the castle at the end, and I remember I'm sitting in the theater with my fiance. I'm going, I've been there.
How cool is that? Yeah. Yeah. And you asked me about my favorites on the tour with Baker Stoker in Transylvania, and the other favorite is Sigishwara. Also a really fairy tale like place.
It is, again, also absolutely breathtaking. It's one of the last occupied walled cities in Europe, isn't it?
Yes, occupied in the sense that it's inhabited by like real people. It's not all B&Bs and souvenir shops. They are increasingly growing. So there's more and more of those. But nowadays, almost everything can be a B&B. I mean, you have an Airbnb, but still you can live there part of the year and so on. But there are still, when you walk around, you can see people having their everyday life. You have some of them even have some chicken in the backyard. So it's really cool to see how life goes on in a fortress built. Well, the foundation was put in the 1200s, but then most of the walls and towers that still stand are from the 14th, 15th, 1600s.
I'll say for me, for the trip, I loved going to Bran. I loved going to Sigishura. It is such a gorgeous night. It's like stepping back in time almost, especially to somebody like me. I grew up here in the United States. Nothing's that old.
No, exactly.
Yeah. The other place I really enjoyed was Snagoff Monastery, which for our listeners who may not know is one of, I want to say, 3 places people think Vlad the Impaler was buried, but most historians think this is probably the right one. And I'll say this: I've been in a lot of freaky, haunted, creepy, bizarre places in my life. I've met people possessed by demons. I've met I've seen fairies and things of that nature. I've never felt the sense of a presence the way I did standing in Snagoff.
Wow. I'm
personally absolutely convinced that his body is somewhere on that island. Sans the head, obviously.
Yeah, I really hope you're right. It's difficult for for us to make any opinion or statement without having these historical fact grounds, because then we will get our criticism right away.
And nor would I suggest that you do so,
but yeah, I see what you mean. And there are places in the world where you feel like there's something about this place and there is some presence, or here happened something really awful, or here happened something really nice, or it's you can get that. And especially if you guys are you are educated, you did a lot of research in this field, so you are prepared, you know how to read these kind of signs better than someone who just maybe senses them but doesn't know where to place them or how to understand.
It's also a matter of experiences. I'm not particularly psychic as people describe it, but when you've spent enough time in haunted houses, there's a certain feel a place has. There's no better way to explain it. And it's this feeling, it's like the feeling of being watched that I think almost all of us can relate to, but there's more. Like there's a feeling there of someone intelligent actively still interested in the place. And it's such a powerful personality. I'm studying to be a history teacher. From a facts-based perspective, I can't say it definitively, but my instincts, combined with a theory I heard a long time ago from Raymond McNally, I think made a lot of sense. Which was, his opinion was that not only is Vlad buried on the island, he's still buried in the grave people think that he is. But
Really?
at some point after they first buried him, they redug the grave and buried him deeper to deter looting.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the sort of thing. I mean, historically, we know, moving a body from one site to another or burying it again deeper was a common practice if they were worried about grave robbers. And somebody that famous, that would make sense.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll say the other one that was enormously entertaining. With the equipment I did bring with me to Romania, I brought what's called the Spirit Box. Spirit Box is a device that was designed based on blueprints created by Thomas Edison. Because very near the end of Edison's life, he became interested in talking to the dead. So he started to develop what he called a phone to the dead. And an engineer 10, 15 years ago found his blueprints and finished it. So I brought one of these with me. I turned it on standing over the grave. And the moment I turned it on, out of this box comes this male voice going, yeah, really loudly. Now, I'd love to say that that was Dracula's voice, but I can tell you for certain, almost for certain, it wasn't. Because the problem with the devices like this is they pick up stray radio signals. So most likely what happened is it was a stray radio signal of somebody shouting.
Okay. Oh, what a disappointment. Could have been. Well, then it's quite difficult to tell what is what, right? How can you distinguish between a real, like, authentic interaction and just a regular everyday life radio?
That's a really good question. And the answer is pretty simple. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Look for specifics. You know, if you get a recording where you ask a yes or no question, and then 30 seconds later, you hear something that might have been a yes, it's probably garbled static or, another broadcast catching in. If it says, stop that, Kevin, or it uses names, it uses dates, the more specific it gets, the less likely it is to be random.
Wow.
I had a house, the first house I ever investigated formally, like joined the group that I now run because the creator has since passed away. The first time I'd ever done EVP, which was just take an audio recorder, set it down, hit record, ask questions, play it back. We got a voice coming back, and we're well past the 30-second mark, so I'll quote it directly. That very clearly said, "You fucking bitch, you fucking whore." We couldn't hear it.
Are we allowed to say this on
As long as it was not within like the first 90 seconds, you could say it on YouTube. But I didn't say it. The other guy I was with didn't say it. It wasn't garbled. It wasn't static. It wasn't, well, maybe it said this, maybe it said something else. It was absolutely crystal clear. And that's not, there may be another explanation for it, but it's not a radio signal.
I think you shocked Brian because he's
or yeah, Brian seems to have disappeared. Let me check Facebook and see where the dude, if I know where the dude went, but maybe having connection problems. It happens. Okay, he's not feeling well, so he had to get going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which I'm sorry to hear for his sake, but it happens.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Just send him a quick feel better.
Mm.
But it's things like that. It's like you can usually tell if something's clear. There's a lot of times when it isn't, and I'll kind of I prefer to play the skeptic. But yeah, if it uses names, if it uses dates, the more specific the answer is, the more reliable it is, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, there's, I think, a good related question to the first one. Is there anyone where you don't fit into the tour that you'd like because of time or because of distance that you wish you could?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your question.
So are there any sites that aren't on the itinerary that you wish were, but because it's too far away, because it's private, something like that, you can't do it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a lot to see in Romania, and obviously time is limited, and we cannot go everywhere. But place that is really interesting would be Sarmisegetusa Regia, which is the former capital of Dacia, the country that was before Romania even was in plan. This was in the late, let's say, 300 BCs. We had Dacia. There was this king Burebista. There is a legend about him that he ordered all wine or all vineyards should be cut down because the Dacians were having a little bit too much partying and too much wine, so nobody was doing the work. But yeah, just as a brackets, as a parenthesis, this is one place that is a bit out of the way from the regular route that we have, and which would be really nice. The place is like looks or reminds a little bit of Stonehenge in some
wow.
ways. Yeah, it's really cool. Let me see if I can post a link to what it looks like. So that would be one of the places. Then also the Danube, itself, building the border between Serbia and Romania. There is also a really cool castle called Golubac on the border, on the Serbian side, across the Danube. And speaking of Dacians and Dacia, the country Dacia, it was conquered by the Roman Empire in the early 100s. That's BC, and what's after AD, yeah, 100s AD. And it was about where I'm talking about now, at the Danube bend, where it borders to Serbia. That's where they conquered. That's where they fought the most important strategic battles. Eventually, the Dacians were conquered by the Roman Empire right there. So let me just post here a link to something that is the best picture I can find at the moment.
And again, once you post the link, I'll put it in the description so that everyone listening can go enjoy taking a look at it themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So, for example,
because it sounds amazing. I'd love to go myself. It's like
it is. I think Atlas Obscura is the best picture I could find, because it really looks like what it looks in reality. Here it is.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I know the one that I thought of while we were there, that again, as I understand it, was distance and timing issues that I wouldn't mind seeing, was Turgovist.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's another place really connected to, just like Poenar, really connected to Vlad the Impaler. He ran the country from there. The capital, well, Bucharest became the capital of Romania, actually, as a consequence of Vlad's actions, because it was him who established the princely court there. It was actually when we could say that Bucharest was turning into the capital of Wallachia. It was no Romania back then. Romania is a country, an autonomous first, and then an independent later on country since 1859, so AD, so quite late in time. And until then, it was the three principates, the three princely regions, Wallachia, Moldavia, and Transylvania. These are the historical regions of Romania. And eventually, Wallachia and Moldavia got united in 1859. And then eventually they gained their independence as it was a vassal state to the Ottoman Empire until 1877. So quite a young country.
Indeed, and it's always interesting to me that it's one of those people's perception of time is a little weird, Because whenever I think of the Empire, even though I know better, but I think when a lot of people think of the Ottoman Empire, they think of it as something from the Middle Ages. When, as I understand it, it basically really ended in the First World War.
Exactly. At the end of World War One, 1918, that's when it's disintegrated. And in the final years of the war, so it was quite obvious for everyone that it's about to collapse, just like the Habsburgic or the Austro-Hungarian Empire. These were the two big losers of World War One.
And two, I mean, it's just remarkable from especially going through world history classes while I was getting my degree. These were major powers for a long time in world history.
Yeah, pretty much as you say, from the Middle Ages and on until 1918.
And so much of Romania and Transylvania, like you said, why did they bring the Saxons into Transylvania? It's a buffer against the Ottomans and other groups invade, particularly Muslim, but not only invading Western Europe through Central Europe.
Exactly, and they end up fighting on the same side in World War One, which is really like I still find it really interesting that the two centuries times enemies eventually end up being allies in the first big conflagration of the world.
Yeah, World War One is just a really fascinating conglomeration of things.
Yeah, very much so.
Just makes me think that everyone does. Well, alternative history is always so popular, and people the endless question so many stories have explored of what if you went back in time and killed Hitler? How does that change history? Yeah. But what I think is a more interesting and less violent question is what if you went back in time and stopped the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand? I mean, it probably doesn't stop World War One entirely because Europe was a powder keg; it was going to go off. But it would have changed the timetable. It might have changed the alliances.
Yeah,
could possibly drastically reshape World War II just by changing that one event and all the ways that would trickle down. And you don't have to murder somebody; you save somebody's life.
Exactly.
But I need to do a lot more history before I get around to writing anything like that, I think.
Yeah, and no matter how you do it, you will never be able to. I mean, backwards, or how do you call it? There is a name to it. Backwards.
Alternative history, usually.
Yeah, exactly. It could be anything.
True, but it's an interesting piece of like intellectual speculation, to use a nicer word for it. I can think of less plus or plus.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's fun. It's fun to have this kind of discussion over a glass of wine.
Exactly. Which is the other thing worth mentioning is, more of the thing to talk to him about, I suppose. But as I understand it, Stoke Baker's started his own type of wine.
Yeah, well, it's one of the guests from the group who is involved, and she started together with Dacre and some other partners. They started this business, and I'm really excited to see their development. It's really going forward. So it was nice to be at their launch party at Bran Castle during Halloween. Nice. Yeah, it was very much fun. And yeah, the wines are really good. I particularly enjoyed the rosé, but the red wine is also very, very nice. It's just it's a bit, red wine is a bit heavy for me, but yeah, it's very nice with food, and yeah, it's.
I like lighter, sweeter wines myself, so I know what you mean. Though I enjoyed a lot of the tastings we did during the trip.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
I don't drink much, but it's like, if I'm going to pay for the trip and I'm going to get the tasting, I'm going to enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point of spending the money, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting close to the end of our hour, unfortunately. Is there any more stuff you'd like to bring up? Any ideas? Anything I haven't been able to talk about yet?
I'm really grateful that we met again in the online, and I'm glad I was able to speak a bit to Brian as well. I'm sorry that he's not feeling well, so I hope he'll be much better soon. And please give him my best wishes. And
I will.
to everyone listening, I'm very grateful for you guys being interested in Transylvania. And yeah, hopefully we'll meet you there if you join maybe a tour with Baker Stoker, the one that we have upcoming now this year, or later on. Who knows? We are constantly being asked on, oh, but is Mr. Stoker going to do this tour next year as well? Well, we don't know. That's why we are trying to plan the upcoming tours. There's so many interesting destinations linked to Dracula, like Ireland, like Scotland, England. So Transylvania, yes, of course, it's the main destination, but also, yeah, we need to. We're just a bunch of people, and Baker is just one, and you never know.
Can only
So
be so many places that in a year.
exactly, exactly.
And
So that's why we cannot promise. So grab the chance while you can.
I'll say this as well, folks. I mean, not to disrespect your Ireland tour in any sense. I'd love to go on it myself, or to disrespect Ireland. It's a wonderful country, but
Yeah,
lots of people go to Ireland. Lots of people go to Scotland. They're very common. Not that the only people I know other than myself who've been to like Romania or on business trips or have family there. There's something like that. It's a much more unusual take. I
yeah.
mean, you want how don't you want to be able to say, "Hey, I got to go to Transylvania with a great grandnephew of Bram Stoker." That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I still tell people
Really
about
cool, because Bram Stoker never went to Transylvania himself.
it.
So
Yep.
Baker doing this, it almost feels like he's taking the heritage personally to the next level. Like he's doing that for Bram in a way on his account. So, and it's really, I mean, yeah, I just did a pun, right? On his account. I'm so funny.
I approve. I highly
Yeah.
approve.
Thank you.
We're all about the puns
It's
here.
pretty cool. Yeah.
And folks, if you are interested, I did put a link in the description to Experience Transylvania and to the two sites that Gloria mentioned. I put those links here too. I was just looking at the Stonehenge style one. That is really cool.
It's really cool. Yeah. It's remote, but it's worth it.
It's like I've been just making this checklist of if I get it when I get a chance to go back to Romania. These are all the things I wanted to do I didn't get to do last time. That's now on the list. Trigovista's on the list.
Well, Kevin, whenever you decide if you want to go, individually and have your own plan, give us a call. And if you wonder about anything, we are very glad to give advice and support your next trip.
I will definitely do that. I look forward to it. I wouldn't mind trying to work on something together at some point in the future. I've had a few ideas we can talk about off air, just because it's not really something to bring out in public, particularly before we discuss it. Because I keep forgetting. I want to real quick before we go, folks. If you like what we're doing, if you enjoy it, please take the time to like, comment, subscribe. Consider tossing a little money into the Patreon, patreon.com/demonology. You can find things in the description. I need to go put the link, but I'll do that later. Be aware we are doing a show every week now. We did not do it last week, unfortunately, because my internet went out like at showtime. It was the worst thing ever. It's like all of a sudden I've got Brian on the line. I'm about to live stream, and I get knocked offline. I'm like, wait, what? And it just didn't. It did. We never worked it out. I was really disappointed, but we should be back next week. I can tell you now that the week. Oh wait, no, we will be back next week. The weekend after that, the weekend of the 22nd and 23rd, we will not have a show because I'll be out of town at convention. And then, speaking of conventions, March 29th and 30th is Telltale Steampunk. It is an event that is taking place in Pikesville, Maryland. Brian McKinley will be speaking at it. I'll be speaking at it. Baker Stoker will be speaking at it. Anyone who saw the Assembly of Monsters two-parter we did a while back, all of those authors will be at the convention. So I highly recommend coming out and checking it out if you can. Ticket for the 2 days is $70, which is very reasonable. Hotel rooms are less than $200 for the night. So go ahead and check that out if you can, and tune in next week. I don't know what we'll be talking about yet, or if we'll have a guest or not. We are working on a couple, but I think that's going to do it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank everybody listening. Gloria, you have been an absolute pleasure as always.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you so much, and have a good evening.
You too, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
I'll disconnect this. And leave meeting. Okay, there.